Well, the Prime Minister's pledge on vaccinations is, as we all know, intended to stop the NHS being overwhelmed by what he called a tidal wave of Omicron. Here in the North West, accident and emergency staff say that they are already facing huge pressure, caring for increasing numbers of patients while also still dealing with COVID. As you'll know if you're a regular viewer of the programme, our health correspondent Jill Dummigan has been to the Royal Blackburn Hospital several times during the pandemic. Well, she's been back with cameraman Sean Twomley to see the challenges there now.
This morning it's relatively quiet outside A&E, but inside the corridors are scattered with patients on trolleys.
We're struggling with overcrowding because of the number of patients that we're seeing and the number of patients requiring to be admitted, and we're struggling to get those patients into hospital, and so unfortunately they have to wait in the emergency department.
The number of patients is now back up to pre-pandemic levels, many sicker with more complex conditions.
Obviously the primary care is overwhelmed, just as we are, and patients know they can always go to A&E, we're always open, we're always here. So we become the default for people to go to when they don't know where to turn.
The department was built to deal with 40 patients at any one time. 70 is now the norm. 3 days ago, there were 90.
Quite a lot of patients on the corridor, quite a lot of patients waiting to be seen. There's normally like a 6 to 12 hour wait to be seen for patients. So, you know, we are nursing patients on the corridors as well.
Is that stressful?
It's very stressful. It's very stressful for all our staff. A lot of the student nurses, medical students have been sort of helping out with us as well because it's been so busy.
Last month, 10,500 people came here for treatment. Just over half of those people, 56%, were seen within the government's target time of 4 hours. The same time 2 years ago, that figure was 70%. But the difficulties now being faced, not just here, but in most hospitals, are unlike what's been seen before. Nobody wants to see patients lying on trolleys in this way, do they?
No, not at all, and it's really heartbreaking for our staff because it's a very difficult situation to be in. Obviously A&E can never close, we can't shut when we're full, we just have to carry on accepting patients, and that makes it really difficult for everybody, for the staff, and it's really difficult for the patients. It's not what anybody would want.
You've not collapsed.
To try to help matters, the Trust's just begun a new system at its smaller site, Burnley General.
Right, if you want to take a seat back in the queue.
Patients here now book an appointment, either through 111 or by queuing up and filling in a questionnaire which assesses how quickly they need to be seen.
The idea behind the system is that the patient needs to be seen immediately, then they are. If they don't, then what we can do is offer them an appointment usually for later in the day, not too much later. And the patient then has a time when they know that they're going to be seen and not going to be sitting in a waiting room for a long time waiting to be seen. It also has the effect that the waiting room doesn't become too full, so social distancing becomes much more easy to maintain.
Waiting here today, 79-year-old Eileen Hudson and her daughter Deborah.
My knee's swollen up and I can't try to stand on it, and I nearly fell downstairs this morning, so my daughter said, "You better get it sorted."
Eileen's been judged a priority, so after an hour she's called in. Back at reception, a steady queue of people waiting to be assessed. How are people getting on with it?
They're loving it. It's great. It's really working well. The staff are liking it. The patients are liking it because they're not spending a lot of time in the department now.
Because normally it used to be like you come here and you used to wait for about 4 hours. I don't know how long we're going to wait today.
So if it ends up that you have to wait a few hours, would you go home and do that and then come back for the appointment?
If it's a few hours, if they give me a time slot, yes, then I will be going back home and then bringing her back.
And does that work better for you?
It does.
This booking system aims to create a steady flow of patients throughout the day, evening out demand and stopping overcrowding. Have you been here before?
Yes, love.
And how does being here today compare to...
Well, usually it's packed at rafters, love. It's packed all over usually. It's a bit easier. You know what people are going for. If you're already booked, you know what's wrong with you, you know where to stand you before you come.
Burnley's system's starting to be trialled in a number of urgent care centres, but in major A&Es like Blackburn's, people are too ill, and so the overcrowding and the waits continue. So when you look to the next couple of months, how does everybody feel about it?
Anxious, I would say. Yeah, really anxious. Staff are tired because it's just been so relentless over the last sort of 12 months that we've never really got to the end of it, and the end doesn't seem to be in sight either.
And now there's Omicron. People will be watching this, they'll be hearing your concerns. What do you want people to think about when they see this?
Stay safe and get yourself vaccinated.
That's what you want people to think about?
Yeah.
Jill Donegan, BBC North West Tonight, East Lancashire Hospitals Trust.